when you're procuring any finance or forecasting budgeting package, I think the key thing is it's going to be the same across the board. It's all about preparation. I think the key thing is preparation and understanding what your outputs are likely to be. Okay, so that's obviously, an opportunity to challenge what the normal is. So effectively, just because you're doing things in a certain way now, does that necessarily mean that you're able to shoehorn that into the same system? Because obviously systems do work in different places. So I think the key thing is starting off with regards to when you're planning on going live with the product, and effectively giving yourself enough time, rather than rushing these things, to give yourself enough time to get things built and obviously understand the outputs that you require. Okay, so I think in the first instance, what drives everything with regards to, even if it's like budgets, if it's payroll, if it's HR, the key fundamental things is your access, is your finance package. And within that finance package is the chart of accounts. That is crucial, because if you get that bit wrong, it obviously leads through to the reports. And obviously that will then, you're trying to make things simplistic. You're trying to make things, the outputs and your processes, as seamless as possible. So with that in mind, go back to the sort of beginning, is the chart of accounts, getting that ledger code structure in with regards to the CFR codes, getting that against the ledger codes. And effectively, then you can potentially look at things like supplier lists as well. Okay, so if you want schools to have different ones, that is something that can obviously be administered on a sort of an ad hoc basis. However, at the same time, you may wish that they have exactly the same starting point, which obviously can be enabled on here as well. So I think once you've got that area in place with regards to the chart of accounts, it's then obviously looking at how you're going to then incorporate the training. One of the biggest things obviously is the system setup. That's the first bit, that's stage one. Stage two is effectively the onboarding. So once we do the onboarding, is how you're then going to roll that out to another local authority. So when you're rolling that out to a local authority, I would effectively say, is this the opportunity where we do things in groups? And when you do things in groups, it's almost like making those groups be the same groups throughout the process, because not only are they going to be taking the training in, they also have the opportunity to ask questions or network between themselves. And it just gives them that opportunity or security of other schools joining them as well. However, you can either get them individually trained. Obviously, that there's that train the trainer approach for that as well. And I think once you've done that onboarding process with regards to transactions and obviously the outputs with reports, I then think the final bit is that ongoing support with your provider. And what I mean with that is how things have gone and a reflection of things that you've done. So that continuous partnership or relationship that you're then able to say, look, we've done all the training. Schools have now had that opportunity to use the system in a live environment, as well as the local authority. But it's then that sort of, let's take stock of what we know, that information. Do we need additional training, or are there additional training needs? Are there additional reporting needs? And I think it's when you take stock after 2 months, for example, is that opportunity, once you've used it in a live environment, to ask those questions. And then we can obviously look at how what the best practice is, with regards to resolving that issue, or is it something that we can develop within our system to enable that to be a seamless process. And I think the key thing with this, and working, certainly from my point of view, working with local authorities over the sort of last 10 years, I've worked with different sized local authorities. Some of them have been sort of relatively small in size, like 8 schools initially, but some have been up to sort of 500, as sort of my background sort of demonstrates with that. And I think the key thing with that really is to understand, that point of where you need to get to, and obviously the requirements for each of those schools as well.